So 2 years ago in 2022, that's when I started studying Spanish. And prior to this, I had literally no desire of learning Spanish. However, if you didn't know, in Sweden, in 6th grade, you choose a language between either French, Spanish, or sometimes German. And we had French and Spanish, so naturally I chose Spanish because most of our classmates had also chosen Spanish, and also it just seemed like the easier language to learn. And so I picked Spanish, and up until 7th grade, it was super easy, but I really hadn't learned anything. And I never really cared for the language. Now, a year later, in 2022, there is a guy in my class who, he started going on Duolingo to sort of learn Spanish and improve his Spanish. And so this guy in my class, he went on this app, super popular app named Duolingo, and he started studying Spanish in his free time. And out of all the subjects that he was liked, it was just Spanish that he really enjoyed talking about. It was really only Spanish that he really gave a shot. And so after he started doing it, it's almost became like a trend in my class that people would study Spanish in their free time, that people would sort of study Spanish, learn Spanish and study Spanish or French or whatever their languages in their free time on Duolingo. So Duolingo became sort of popular in my class. And growing up, I'd always been extremely competitive. I remember growing up, I played games like Minecraft and Geometry Dash. I remember one day, if you don't know Geometry Dash, it's this block game, right? It's kind of like this square that you hit and then it jumps over like a triangle. I don't know, it sounds kind of goofy, but you probably heard of it. I remember one day I was working hard me and my brother, we were staying up late to get this specific, I was gonna get this specific icon. And my brother even told me at 2 a.m. should we go to bed? And I'm like, nah, let's stay up a little longer. And eventually by the end of the night, I grinded enough coins to get the ship icon that I wanted. And we stayed up so long, our mom actually woke up and got really mad at us. But yeah, and even I used to play Minecraft, and with me and my friends and my cousins, we'd play together, and I was super competitive. I was always wanted to be the best. And me being this sort of competitive, ambitious kid, I learned how to do this technique called god bridging, which is where you bridge really quickly. And yeah, I was just really good at the game. I bought a PC just so I could play, be better at Minecraft. And so growing up, because I'd always been so ambitious, I'd always want to be the best. Naturally, because now learning Spanish had almost become a trend. I'm using Duolingo. I obviously wanted to be the best. So obviously, I first started by doing what everyone else had been doing. I went on Duolingo and I started doing the course they have on Duolingo. I remember when I was a few years before, 2 years before this, I wanted to learn Arabic because I got into praying and stuff. And so I did the Duolingo course on Arabic, and I did the same method that everyone had been saying. I wrote down the entire Arabic ABCs. I wrote them all down on a paper and tried putting them on my wall. And I literally, I stopped in the first day. I didn't get any progress. But anyway, with the Spanish, I did a little on the way to school. I did some here and there. For me, I was 13 years old and I didn't have much discipline. I still played video games. I still did all of those, I still, was pretty undisciplined. So I needed something that I can sort of study on the fly, and I needed something that was free. So Duolingo seemed like a good option because I just did it on the train, and that was it. So I needed something like that where I could just do it on the train, and everyone else was doing it. So naturally, I started doing more research into what I could be doing right now to improve my Spanish, to get ahead of everyone else. Which I know it might sound a little weird, but it's just that's the type of person I am. So as I was doing research into it, I found this YouTuber named Xiaoma, which it's this Chinese YouTuber. He learned Chinese. He's this white guy that learned Chinese. So he goes around and speaks Chinese to people to impress them. Another YouTuber I found was Ikena. He knows that he got fluent in 8 languages, including Spanish. And another one, Language Lords, which he got fluent in 44 days in Spanish using his method. So I started watching all these language YouTubers, and this video from this guy named Ikena. Damn, it just got dark. So from this YouTuber named Ikena, he made this video of a tier list of language learning apps. And I saw Duolingo on the thumbnail. I was like, okay, you know what, let's click on it, right? And he put Duolingo D tier. He put it pretty low. And as I was watching it, he later put 2 apps on S tier. First one was called Pimsleur. Second one was called Language Transfer. So after I had heard, these different apps, okay? After I had heard these different apps from this YouTuber who knows 8 languages fluently, right? I naturally said, okay, let me try both of them. So I told my friend about this app called Pimsleur, and I checked it out. It costed money. So I didn't go to Pimsleur at all. Instead, I checked Language Transfer, and Language Transfer was completely free, and it had the Spanish course. So I started doing Language Transfer, and he explained that Language Transfer is this app. It's this course where there's 90 lessons, and each lesson it's this teacher, a guy who knows Spanish, who teaches a student. It's pretty much that. It's a lesson. And so the teacher started teaching his methods, and as I was listening to these lessons, literally in the first 3 to 5 lessons, I was mind blown. It was a mind blown thing, because in the first lessons he introduced this concept of cognates, which is where because there's Latin roots in English and Spanish is pretty much a Latin language, there are thousands of words that you can just convert to Spanish like that. So after I got introduced to cognates, I was so shocked because it's like all of a sudden I was able to start speaking Spanish when I hadn't actually studied Spanish at all. And so I told my friend about language transfer, and my friend started doing language transfer. And my school friend had also realized that it was so good that he wanted to gatekeep it from the rest of the class, because everyone in the class had been pretty much using Duolingo. So because I found this app like language transfer, it was so good that like, my friend wanted to gatekeep it from everyone. I remember one day where me and my friend were talking about this app, this secret app we called it, right, at the lunch table, and our other classmates were like, they were trying to find out what app it was, but then I wanted to tell everyone about this like new app I discovered, but my friend wanted to gatekeep it, and at the end they found out it was language transfer. They found out eventually. And so as I got more into learning Spanish, I got more into doing the language transfer course, me and my friend eventually made like a deal with each other that we were going to spend that summer of 2022 to completely learn Spanish, and we were going to spend an hour a day studying Spanish, and by the end of the summer we'd be fluent in Spanish. And so our goal was to get fluent in Spanish by the end of that summer, and the reason was because this YouTuber named Language Lords, I remember watching one of his videos, and his video, he got fluent in Spanish in like 44 days, something crazy. Okay, if he could do it in 44 days, then of course we can do it in 3 months, in 100 days, right? So naturally we took it a challenge upon ourselves to finish language transfer, like the course of language transfer, before the summer started. And then during the summer, we would essentially do the methods that we saw the language YouTubers do, and we just thought that we'd be fluent by the end of the summer. And during this time, me and my friend, we told as many people as we could, because it was almost like a commitment, where I was watching this, again, back to this YouTuber named Shauma. She made this video where he got fluent in Spanish in like 3-4 weeks. And Shauma said in like his beginning that when you make a public commitment to something, people are more likely to do it. So in this like video he made, he said, I'm gonna get fluent in Spanish in the next 30 days. And he essentially quoted a study where people like were told about weight loss, about how when you told your friends and everyone that you know that you were gonna lose the weight, they were more likely to lose the weight. And so similarly, because of that, Shauma made a commitment as in a YouTube video where he was gonna learn Spanish. And so I thought, you know what, let's just do that. So I told pretty much all of my friends, all my family members, pretty much as many people as I knew from school, and like me and my friend, we committed ourselves into it. My friend didn't commit himself as much though, and by the time summer came around, he had only finished like half of the course. I already finished the entire course. And so, and actually later on in the middle of the summer, he told me that he just wasn't going to do Spanish anymore. So I was alone pretty much, which is kind of sad. But anyway, so I finished the language transfer course before summer, and at that level, my Spanish wasn't that high. So I'm going to now switch to the computer. So I found a recording of me speaking. So this is how it sounded after doing the language transfer course, and this was then the beginning of summer 2022.
Hola, me llamo Hamid y voy a contar sobre lo que pasó.
So as you can tell, I can't really speak a lot. I mean, let's skip around here.
Cuando I moved, mis familias hicimos muchos memories. We made a lot of memories. Y Shista y mi padre moved to
So as you can see, like, my Spanish wasn't great. Like, I was able to still speak, in the sense I was able to like make sentences, but my Spanish still wasn't great. So this is the video that I watched, how I got fluent in Spanish for 44 days, time-lapse plus full 8-hour daily method. And at some point in this video, he explains how there is basic fluency and there is native fluency.
Fluency, where I try to reach a native.
Es impresionante.
It's been a couple of weeks since I finished this 44-day project and reached what I consider basic fluency. Now I've started the step that I call native.
So he says that basic fluency was to recall the words that you know automatically to communicate with others, advanced vocabulary, native level accent. And so I had this idea of getting to conversational fluency, as in basic fluency, first during the summer. So I'll be conversationally fluent after the summer, and then later on, over a longer period of time, to spend that to learn to get natively fluent, which is what I'm doing right now. And so I found out that there's an effort discrepancy, which means there's a difference between how much effort you put in and how much results that you get. So to get conversational fluency, the effort discrepancy between them is like a little effort for a lot of results. But then for native level fluency, it's a ton of effort for like a little more results when it comes to results in the language. And so my goal was to focus as much as my time and effort on getting to conversational fluency. And in this video I'm playing right now, he explains that right now that he watched real Spanish content of real Spanish being spoken and then essentially understood what the people in the real videos said. And then he would just translate it using like DeepL. And after he would translate it, he would be able to understand what native level Spanish people actually said. And in this video, he also talked about flashcards. In his methods, this YouTuber named Language Lords, he also talked a lot about like flashcards. And he also talked about doing a speaking exercise where you speak in front of the camera and then correct yourself. For me, I did that method and I tried all the methods that there was. Honestly, I already tried Duolingo, I tried language transfer, then I tried the speaking exercise that I learned from Language Lords. Then I tried using Quizlet and like Anki decks because that's what Xiaoma had said. I tried all these different methods, and at the end, on August of 2022, the last month of summer where I was supposed to become fluent, I started really getting into the method that is very similar to what he did right now in his video. And so as I was doing that method, and so I did that method as well as another method, and those two methods of like learning and those two study techniques, I did them for like 2-3 weeks. And literally after the 2-3 week mark, I had like a full-on hour-long conversation with real native speakers, and I was able to go back and forth conversationally fluent like that. And so here's a little recording of me speaking Spanish after the summer, where I was conversationally fluent, but I wasn't super fluent. But I was able to essentially have conversations. So here.
Mi español, y ahora puedo hablar de más o menos muchas cosas, pero hay un límite. Sí, mi vocabulario no es muy grande, no es muy sí, grande, no, así.
So I'm just saying that my vocabulary isn't very big, and I can talk about like more or less like a good amount of things, but I can't but there's a limit to it. So that's all I was talking about. Let's see what else.
Quiero sonar como un nativo.
So I want to sound like a native when I speak, is what I'm trying to say. Oh, as you can see, my Spanish was like, it was good. It was like better, like way better than anything that I've done so far. And I got to a point where I was able to have like conversation with Spaniards. But I wasn't, do you know what I mean? I wasn't like super up there, do you know what I mean? I wasn't like native level. And so that's what I'm trying to focus on right now. And so the routine I'm going on right now is doing that same routine that I did 2 years ago, but now I've developed it and tweaked it a little. So I'm going to go through an example of how the routine I'm doing right now to get native level fluency, how it looks like. I call this routine, or I call this like method. It's mainly 2 exercises, and it's transcript training and narrate, elaborate, and contemplate. And right now, also the cognate cheat code is like what language transfer got me. But I haven't actually written these down, but later on I'm going to make like a guide where I explain exactly how to do it. Right now I'm going to show you a real life example of how it works. So transcript training, I call it, which I mainly got that like main idea from Language Lords, like the YouTuber. And it's essentially this routine where I'm going to watch a piece of native level Spanish content that like a Spanish person would genuinely watch. And as I hear the person talk, I'm going to have subtitles where I can see what he's saying. And if there's a word that I can hear or that I don't understand, then I'm going to try to understand it. So mainly the routine is to essentially just listen and understand over and over again. And this is how I'm going to climb the lure ladder, which what I call it. So the lure ladder just stands for listen, understand. And the vehicle to get there is this transcript training. So this is how it works.
La marca personal va a ser uno de los activos más valorados en la próxima década.
So here, obviously, I've been studying Spanish for quite a bit, so I can clearly understand what he's saying. So he's saying personal branding is going to be one of the most valuable. So, okay, let's say we didn't know what activos meant. Then I would go to this website called DeepL, which is like this translator. And it's like a really good translator because it gives you more contextual translation instead of like Google Translate. But I still don't even recommend Google Translate either, or both translators. But this is like the quickest, easiest way to understand it. And I write activos, assets. Okay, so that means that activos valorados, which we already said, valorados, means valuable assets. Makes sense. And so when there's some sort of word or like verb that is kind of hard to understand, like for example, aprovechándose, then I go to this website called SpanishDict.com and I just write that. So and I already know what it is because I've already, I'm already going through this routine, but to show you, and so that's the verb being used. What does it mean? It means to take advantage of, and here it shows you all the different verb like ways. And so he said what did he say? He said aprovechándose, which means the verb is aprovecharse, which means take advantage of. And so now I understand that aprovechándose means that they are taking advantage of, and it's using the present form of.
En este vídeo
Here, tendencia. I don't know what that word is, so let's write it out. Tendencia. Trend. Boom. So now I know that there are people, businessmen like Alex Mosey, who are taking advantage of this trend. And it's important to go back and just listen to what the native Spanish person said, and then try to understand it like that as well. So now I'm going to listen to it without like reading the text.
la marca personal va a ser uno de los activos más valorados en la próxima década. Estamos viendo a grandes empresarios como Elon Musk, Alex Hormozzi o José Elías aquí en España aprovechándose de esta tendencia. En este vídeo te voy a enseñar en 6 pasos cómo crear una marca personal de éxito. Y al final del todo te explicaré cómo monetizarla y cómo la estoy monetizando yo.
So, as I do this routine of, I call it transcript training, it's good because I understand true Spanish grammar, because that's how they genuinely speak. Spanish vocabulary, which is also native, like native Spanish vocabulary, native Spanish accent and tone, but also it develops the way you speak, because you hear someone else say aprovechándose, and then you'll say aprovechándose. You won't say aprovechándose. Do you get it? So that's why this routine is so valuable for me. The next part of this routine is just a simple speaking exercise where I'm going to be speaking in Spanish, and then when I feel like I say something that I don't know how to say, I'll just go to DeepL right here and I'll just write out. For example, let's say I'm trying to say, let me try to find a sentence that I can't say in Spanish. I'm looking forward to meeting your parents, okay? Like, I don't know how to contextualize that in Spanish. So then I'll go here and write in English, I'm looking forward to meeting your. So here, the good thing about about DeepL is that gives you 2 different options. So the first is, estoy deseando conocer a tus padres. So I understand conocer a tus padres, which means to meet your parents. And tengo ganas de. And so here I understand, so to have ganas de, which I already knew how to say this, but let's say to have ganas de, ganas. To have ganas de means to have desire to, and desear, I assume, is to desire. Great. Now let's say there was something I didn't understand. So let's say I didn't know how to conjugate desear, as in deseando. Then I'd write deseando here, and I can see here all the different verb forms of how I can use it. So let's say I want to say, I was looking forward to meet your parents. Then I can say, here, estuve deseando conocer a tus padres. Boom. So that's pretty much that routine, okay? The main understanding here is that I speak something, so I try to say something, and if I don't know how to say it, I'll go here to, I'll go to DeepL and I just translate it, find out which ways I can say it. If I don't understand how the verb form works, how the conjugation works, then I'll understand it even better by going to SpanishDict.com. And so this is the method that I made for myself, which really did help me get fluent in Spanish. So here's the fluency equation. Entonces, ahora estoy hablando en español y voy a hablar hasta que me parece que no sé cómo decir una frase. Que, sí, cuando no, see, here we go, right there, okay? So, when I don't know how to say a sentence. So right now, I didn't know how to say that, when I don't know how to say a sentence. So then I write it out here. I wanted to say, until I don't know how to say a sentence, which I was about to say. And here I see something called, hasta que no sepa decir una frase. This sepa, we can write it out here. And a lot of people don't know about like the subjunctive or like the way Spanish conjugation works. Sepa comes from the verb to know, and it's the, boom, right here, it's the present tense of subjunctive, which means anytime I say until I don't know, it's subjunctive because it's a doubt, it's said in a subjunctive way. So then I'll say, hasta que no sepa, and then decir, right? Just decir, yeah. Until I don't know how to say a phrase. Boom. And then here you can say, hasta que no sé decir. That's another way. I don't know how that would work. And so essentially, boom, right there. Now, I didn't actually know about sepa. So now I just learned, aha, that's the subjunctive form of that. And as I continue this, it's all a big repetition. If I go back to both of these ladders, so the transcript training for the lure ladder and the exercise I just did now for the third ladder, both are extremely long ladders that take tons of repetition to climb. And so that's it. That's what I'm doing right now to improve my Spanish. Finally, I'm also going on to like Hello Talk to speak with natives, because the best way to learn how to speak with natives is to speak with natives. I'll show you the video of how Shauma actually got fluent.
In the next 30 days, I am going to learn to speak Spanish.
Sería un reto por este mes por la cuarentena, pero también me ha gustado mucho el lenguaje español y quería aprenderlo. En este momento mi español definitivamente no es perfecto, pero yo puedo hablar de muchas cosas con fluidez. Ahora ya han pasado 30 días, de los cuales más o menos 20 fueron para estudiar. Y ahora yo querría hablar acerca de cómo aprendí este idioma y mostrarte cómo ha mejorado mi español. Bueno. Antes de este reto yo hice un video donde yo intenté aprender español memorizando un diccionario, pero el resultado de ese no fue bueno.
So we tried learning Spanish by just memorizing a dictionary, and
I don't know what this means. No idea.
he didn't know anything because it wasn't real Spanish that he was learning. So this time he didn't want to learn Spanish by memorizing, he just did it another way. And if I skip forward a little, he just did it by speaking with a tutor all day, and he just spoke Spanish all day. And so Shauma essentially just learned Spanish by speaking and understanding with natives, and that's honestly the best way to get fluent. So that's why I'm speaking with Spaniards and natives on Hello Talk. That's it, that's all I'm doing. Y bueno, voy a hablar en español en este video para mostrarte qué tal mi español y sí, cómo ha mejorado mi español. Quiero que mi español mejora mucho en este tiempo. Va a pasar como un mes. En este mes voy a estudiar mucho para que mi español pueda mejorar a un nivel nativo, que pueda hablar muy rápido, para que pueda hablar como un nativo, como que cuando hablo suena como un colombiano. Sí, como una persona de Colombia, while speaking at the same time. Oh, it's the same. Okay. Thanks for watching this video. This is just what I'm doing right now to get fluent in Spanish, and I hope that gives you value. If you want me to help you get fluent in Spanish, then add me on Discord and I'll talk to you from there. Hope this video helped you, bro. Stay humble.